chat for type your questions. So for those that have the microphone open, please, if you can close the microphone. Also, at the end of this meeting, we will have some time for Q&A. So the agenda today, we will see, we will have first, we'll start with a brief introduction, like a brief overview of P4G. Then we'll go also with a reminder of what is the expectations of the investment readiness, and followed by the financial management. We'll go through the FSRs, the transaction list, and also the currency. And then my colleague is going to explain the monitoring and evaluation and knowledge product to finalize with the monitoring and compliance and the closeout. Maybe there are some questions. The topics are not new things. It's more a reminder of what are the specifics of what we are expecting in terms of templates, formats, key information that we require from your side. So we avoid this back and forth of emails, and we are open for any clarification. So this training will be provided by mainly the partnership and investment and the monitoring and evaluation team. So first, I will start with a brief introduction, brief reminder of what are our key activities. This is not new for you. You already know that. And just to check, yes, it's recorded, is that what are our key activities that we wanted to support, and how your work plan and budgets are aligned to this, and maybe some of the changes that with some of you can be reinforcing is to have those key three elements. No, the first one is that the support that we're providing and during this implementation of P4G mainly needs to go to this, enable the investment readiness for your green business. No? So the use of the funding as well as the technical assistance is mainly focused to help you for the commercial, for the business to become investment ready, to attract investment and to scale in the same country. So and the number two, that is improving the enable system, is what we wanted to prove is working with the different national platforms that you have been involved in your countries, as well as with our funders and WRI, is that how are those barriers, challenges, or even the success that you are working in the current policy regulatory framework can help you to enable this market system. So what is the work that we need to do with you, what we need to prove and work with together with the national platforms. And then number three, that is this opportunity that some of you already had in the last summit, as well as in different events with investors, or different events for the sector that you are working with your national platform liaison, with investment managers, about to prove or demonstrate showcase the business and the success that you are having, as well as the opportunities. So also you will have the opportunity to still demonstrate it with different case studies, with the knowledge products, with the reports, and the different workshops. No? So they are the three main things, and is just a reminder of what is really matter. No? So this presentation and in general the management of the Subgrant is divided in three sections. So first we are looking the investment side, all the investment readiness support that we can provide you, followed by the requirements from the financial side, since the financial status report, the invoices, and the audit that is mandatory for all the partnerships. And finally, the monitoring and evaluation that is related with the different activities progress report that all of you already submitted, the monitoring and evaluation that starts with your work plan and budget, but follows in the different reports, as well as the knowledge products that are mandatory. And we finalize with the closeout and what is required for the closeout of all your projects. Some of you are already in this process, and it's just a reminder to be everyone aligned of what we need to prepare for this step, or some of you are close to that. So now I will give the word to my colleague Brian to talk about a brief reminder of what is this investment readiness support.
Thank you, Patricia, and warm greetings to you all from P4G. As part of the investment readiness process, I will walk you through this slide. We do recognize at P4G that our partnerships often face a critical gap, not just in capital constraints, but in the capacity to attract it. That's why our investment readiness support is designed as a structured, hands-on journey that prepares our partnerships to engage with investors. So one is that we begin with the kickoff and quarterly meeting, and these are essential check-ins where we align on investment goals, track progress, and provide timely support to our partnerships. We do review the latest investment updates and identify what kind of support is needed for each partnership's investment strategy. And then next, we facilitate a thorough due diligence and gap assessments. And we do this using Savant's checklist and framework where we identify missing elements and flag areas that could hinder investor engagement. Patricia, the slide is not being projected on the screen. If you could just share that again, or anyone within the P4G team who has the slides open. Yes, thank you. Let's just wait for it to be projected. So as we continue to wait, what we do especially with once the due diligence has been done and the gap assessment report provided, we offer the partnerships an opportunity. If you could just scroll up to the slide on investment readiness, Kamal. So I'll continue. Once the due diligence assessment has been done, we offer the partnerships an opportunity to revise their work plan and budgets to address the gaps identified. Kamal, if you could just scroll to the investment readiness slide.
Give me a minute. I think my connection's not.
Okay. So I will continue. So yeah, there it is. Thank you so much, Kamal. Once the due diligence assessment has been done, we offer the partnerships an opportunity to revise their work plan and budget to address the gaps identified. And this includes compiling the main results of the due diligence, highlighting key investment readiness aspects, and ensuring all updates are factored in to prepare the partnership for investment assessments. We also encourage the partnership to engage qualified experts or firm using the contingency budget line to help them close the gaps effectively. So once that groundwork has been done, we work with you as the partnership in developing investor material, and this includes refining the pitch deck and business plan, as well as preparing an investment one-pager to share with various stakeholders. These materials are tailored to resonate with investors, highlighting not just the business model, but the impact, scalability, and the potential return for the business. And then we go to investor meetings, and within this, we do support in curating investor meetings, and the main goal here is to amplify the visibility of the partnership. These platforms mainly connect the partnership with a broader pool of funders, catalyzing interest and accelerating matchmaking. We've seen this with our P4G Vietnam Summit. In Kenya, we've also had the P4G breakfast launch, and also in South Africa, we had a similar event like that that was done virtually. Another layer of support comes through engagement with regulatory bodies, and we do recognize that enabling environment matters. Alongside our national platform partners, we do help our partnership navigate policy, regulatory hurdles, and especially those that may influence investment readiness. Finally, we emphasize investment learnings and knowledge sharing, and we document this through the knowledge product that you produce and share the insight across the ecosystem to inform future support. So as you can see, investment readiness support is just not a one-off activity, it's a comprehensive journey. And at P4G, we are not unlocking investment capital, but we hope to unlock the full potential of the partnership. Thank you. If you could go to the next slide for the presentation for the next person to present, Kamal. Which is financial management.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to go through a small refreshment about the financial management. We all know how important it is for all the partnerships to receive their funds on time to be able to cover expenses. To do so, you need to submit your financial reports on time and complete it with all the required information, something that is not happening very often, and that causes delays in the disbursements. If you don't submit correct and completed FSRs, then we need to reach out to you and ask for explanations, and we might ask for an FSR revision. This takes time also, and might be a month, and you still haven't received your funds, and you will complain, and we want to avoid this. To avoid mistakes and delays, we're going to refresh your knowledge about the financial reports that you have to submit and make sure that you know what is expected from you to complete in this form to be able to process that and receive your funds on time. You all have received the templates. All of you have submitted, probably for some of you, the first FSR, from some of you almost at the end, the final one. It's still the same. We provide general instructions in the form that you receive. We always refer to your expenses for the past quarter based on your approved budget. And when we say approved budget, you always need to check your work plan and budget, what you have agreed upon that, because the FSR comes from there. Every quarter comes from the work plan and budget that you have agreed. You read the instructions, and you always make sure that you put the correct reporting period, because we have seen sometimes that you submit your FSR with no reporting period. We don't even know what is the period you are covering. Then you need to complete the section that refers to the expenses for this reporting period, and you always need to put a comment on the variation column. Not every time, but usually when you overspend or underspend, or it's something that you need to let us know, why is this expense that high? Why this expense is that low? For the P4G budget and for the cost share, because we are looking both at our funds and your expenses. Then you need to complete the other sections of the form. The section 2 refers to the payments that you have received from the P4G and the interest you might have gained from the exchange rate. Everything is important. You need to report everything in this form. This form is the only communication that we have with you to understand what you have done the previous period, what you have accomplished and what you haven't accomplished. Then you always need to sign and put the date. The administrative partner needs to do that and submit the Excel template on Airtable on the link that you will receive in our email. Make sure that when you submit your FSR, you keep on that Excel the previous reports, because it's for us and for you also to keep a record of what you have submitted so far. And you have seen that the Excel attracts the expenses from the previous sheet. So you always need to have this in one file. If for any reason you can't put a signature on the Excel, you can put the signature on a PDF file, but the PDF needs to accompany the Excel. Don't submit only the PDF. We need the Excel because we need to check the expenses. We need to make sure that the formulas are working and there is no mistake, because we have seen that maybe a formula is wrong. Maybe something is wrong, and we might say, oh, you overspent, but in reality, it might be a formula error. And last but not least, make sure that every time you submit a financial report, you submit the transaction list. We are asking this the last couple of months from everyone because it's an auditing also requirement. You will have to submit this for your audit. So it's good for you to have it ready from now, and it's good for us to understand what are these expenses you are referring to. Other than that, we can come back to you if something is missing or we don't understand, but we want to avoid that. So just make sure that you complete all the sections in this area. Next slide, Kamal. We have connection issues today. Yeah. Okay, so these are the common mistakes that we see and we want to avoid. Incomplete reporting period, as I mentioned, make sure that you always put the correct reporting period. Is that, do you want to go through the transactions list or should I go, Kamal?
You can go with the transactions list,
Okay.
Angelique, and
No,
I will add if something's missing.
Sorry, Kamal, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, you can go with the transactions list.
No. Go that, and I will come back to the common mistakes. Go with the transaction list. Go. Oh, Kamal, you can go through that. Kamal, can you hear us?
Okay, thank you, Angelique. Sorry for the inconvenience cause. So for the transactions list, I think there are several things that need to be highlighted, especially when you completed the transactions list. First of all, that we used to say is that you don't differentiate the funding source, whether it is a P4G funding cost or the cost cell. So please make sure that you clearly separate the P4G funded transactions from cost share expenses and also the P4G expenses for accurate financial tracking. And it's also make us easy to understand the expenses that incurred during the reporting periods. The second thing that I would like to emphasize is that to include all the relevant costs, because what we have found during these reporting periods, that some of you do not include the transfer fees of monthly transfer fees and also monthly bank fees, and including the tax which is incurred by the banks in your bank accounts. So please make sure that you include all that relevant costs, capture all the transfer fees, bank fees, tax, and interest to provide a complete pictures of the project expenses. The third thing is that to specify the expenses periods, please make sure that you indicate the time frame for each transactions to align with the correct reporting periods. This is what Angelique already said before, because we found still some of the transactions list, you don't put the specific dates and also reporting period. So please make sure that it is specified the expenses periods that you are reporting. And the other things that we also would like to highlight is that to match the transactions with your report. This is to make sure that all the transactions is reconciled. Then all the records that you presented in the transactions list is similar with what you have reported in the financial status report, especially for the expenses during the reporting period. So it ensures the consistency and the documentations. And the other thing is that please also include the budget line items, because we believe that it would be easier for us to understand what are the budget line items for such expenses, because some of you still use your existing financial chart of accounts to be used in the transactions list. So if you could make this clear, please kindly include the budget line items of the approved budget of the approved work plan and budget. So it link each reported expenses to corresponding budget line item in the FSR. And the last things but not least is the amount. So please ensure the amounts are indicated in the local currency and USD matching with FSR. So if you use the local currency, please add the USD currency and also the exchange rate that used for these transactions. So that's the transactions list that we need you to focus on and present during the transactions list reporting. So to remind you that complete transactions list with all required information should be presented, and this will be also requested by the auditors at the end of the projects. And by presenting this quarterly, it will ensure that you are ready for the audit. That's the transactions list.
Thank you, Kamal. We can go back to summarize the mistakes that we see and just one back. And causing delays. We refer to the incomplete reporting period, overspending or underspending in some budget line items with no explanation, and sometimes not even the project manager is aware of that. And this is not good. So that's the first thing that we are checking. And this is the first thing that we are asking you to provide information. Sometimes we see expenses reported in non-approved budget line items. That might be by mistake, or maybe somehow you have some expenses that you need to report, but you don't have approved budget. You can do that before you have an approval and before we revise your work plan and budget. Sometimes we see that you don't record the payments you receive from P4G correctly because you have transfer fees and you think that you can reduce this from the amount you receive. You need to report exactly the amount that you requested, and then you can report the transaction fees that your bank probably kept as other costs. We recognize this, that is happening in a lot of countries, but you can report this as an expense. Sometimes we can't see the currency conversion on the list, and we know that definitely you had some changes when you converted your funds received. Sometimes the form is not signed or the date is not provided. And something else that's very important, you also need to check if your expenses exceed the 70% of the P4G funding for the expenses up to date, because that means that if you have exceeded that, that means that you haven't spent your own funds, and this is not the case. You need to spend the funds at the same time. You cannot spend only the P4G funds and keep your funds aside. You need to keep spending as you have planned. Otherwise, we need to ask questions about that. And sometimes, actually most of the times, there is no transaction list. And from now on, I need to let you know that we won't process any payment unless we receive the transaction list, as Kamal explained earlier. This is from the FSR point, and we can talk a little bit about the payment request form now. Kamal, you wanna move the slide? Yeah. That's the most important form that you sent us and we are processing. To be able to process your funds, we need to check that everything is in order and in compliance with the financial report that you submitted. To do so, you need to make sure that all the information you provide here is in compliance with the FSR. You only fill the fields that are in yellow Every payment is an interim payment. The final one is only the last 10%, so you keep that as an interim until the end. You always need to provide the amounts that you have received so far, and always check, do you have the same amount in your FSR, in your invoice? Because these need to be in compliance. You need to provide the total expenses up to date, again, based on the FSR, of the latest FSR you have provided to us. You also need to provide the projected expenses for the next quarter, because you all know that we are giving funds in advance based on your expenses that you are projecting that you will have. This also needs to be in compliance with the FSR of the next quarter and in the work plan and budget. The admin partner needs to sign and date this form and again submit that in Airtable. Just make sure that everything is in order. Otherwise, we might need to go back and ask you to revise this. And again, this takes time. Moving to the next slide. I apologize for the delay. It's a connection problem again. Common mistakes, as we say, sometimes you don't provide the correct reporting period. This invoice covers, we don't even know, is it for 2 months? Is it for 3 months? As we know, we have partnerships that they are medium risk and they can ask only payment for 2 months in advance. Others are in low risk and they can ask for 3 months. So we need to know what reporting period you are requesting. You don't report the payments you receive from P4G correctly due to the transaction fees, the same problem that we see on the FSR. Just make sure that every time these two forms are in compliance. You don't report the total expenses today correctly. We see a different amount on the FSR and a different amount on your invoice. Sometimes you don't report the balance on hand correctly. You might have some funds left because we can see from the funds that we have sent you and the expenses that you have provided that you have some balance on hand. And some of you fail to report the correct amount. And some of you request an incorrect amount for your next payment. Every time this needs to be in accordance with the admin partner risk assessment, whether either if it's a medium risk or if it's a low risk, the balance on hand that you have, and the approved quarterly budget. Why I say that? We have seen that for some reasons you haven't spent your quarterly budget and you have some funds on hand sitting there. You cannot request the full quarterly amount for the next quarter if you still have funds on hand. You need to make sure that you will spend the funds that you have. If for any reason you think that you won't be able to spend, again, you need to let us know. Sometimes the form is not signed and a date is not provided. And another important note, if you have funds that you haven't used and you think that you don't need any funds for the next quarter because you're going to use the ones that you have, again, you need to submit a payment request form with 0 requested funds because we need to check your projected expenses. This form gives us an indication of what you are planning to do in the next quarter. So we know that you have plans to spend for the next quarter, even if you don't request any funds because you didn't spend it before. So again, you need to submit a 0 form for this reason. And moving to the next one. Kamal will take us through the foreign currency management. Kamal, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Angeliki. So it's just a reminder that you should also complete the foreign currency, which is in the FSR sections 2 in every quarter. So this would also help us to check whether the funding received in your organizations or on your bank accounts similar with the funds that we have disbursed during the your to your payment request. And please also note that the partner expanding subgrant funds in foreign currency are encouraged to use a first in and first out, or FIFO, in our system. So FIFO use the oldest exchange rate to account for expenses until the funds received at the exchange rate have been fully spent. What does it mean? So when you see this, you receive, let's say, for example, 10,000 received by January 1st, 2025. This is for January to March. And but the times when you receive these funds, your exchange rate was 100. So the total amounts received would be 1 billion in your local currency. So during this January to March period, you are encouraged to use this exchange rate, which is 100. So if there is a transactions or expenses incurred in your local currency, then you can divide it to the exchange rates that is used during the receipt of the P4G amount received. So, and let's say for the next quarter, you receive another 10,000, and the exchange rate at that time was 95. When you have a hand-on balance, let's say, for example, you still have 100,000 in your local currency. So we actually encourage you to use the previous exchange rate, which is 100, as the exchange rate used for your expenses. So when the expenses reach 1 million in your local currency, then you can just go with the next exchange rate which you have received during the Aprils for the next quarter or the next period. So please make sure that in the FSR section 2, you complete all this information so we can check all the things. And this is only an optionals that we would like to encourage you to use. So please be specific on the amount received for the P4G funding. Okay, thank you, Angelique. Maybe you can just continue with the next slide.
Yes. Okay. A few recommendations. Just go back, Kamal. Yeah. It's very important to discuss everything with your project manager. We have seen cases that the project manager is not aware of what is happening with your spending. If for any reason you haven't spent your funds, there is a delay, or you overspent a budget line item because something happened earlier than anticipated, your project manager needs to know what is happening. If everything is delayed and you have funds that you haven't spent, then you have to discuss this with your project manager, because you will have to revise your work plan and budget to be able to spend these funds in the next quarter. It's okay if this happened once and a quarter you had a delay and you had to spend the next quarter, but you cannot keep these funds forever and hoping that you will spend them in the second or the third quarter ahead. We need to know about this, and we need to revise your work plan and budget. You always need to let us know why you haven't been able to spend your funds or why you overspent your funds. You always need to put comments. The comments are very important for us to know what is happening, because we need to know how you will also address these issues. Always separate and differentiate your expenses, the P4G one and the cost share one, in the FSR and in the transaction list. It's very important for us to understand what is what and where is this expense belongs to. Complete all the sections that you are required to sign the form and submit it on our table. Don't forget to check the reporting period. It's very important. Last but not least, we have some milestone partnerships that they have obligated amount to spend for a couple of quarters. So they need to reach some milestones before we are able to release the remaining funds. What that means? That means that for some of you, you might have a specific quarter that you need to complete your milestones. Others you might not have. We might have a specific number that you need to reach a milestone, and when you do that, we will release the remaining funds. No matter what, you have an obligated amount. That means that you can't spend all the funds that we have approved for you. If you reach your milestones, we will have to sign a new agreement, an amendment, so we will be able to release the remaining funds. If you haven't reached your milestones and you have spent all the obligated amount, then you won't be able to receive any funds from us unless you reach your milestones. So it's very important to keep track on your spending and your milestones, because we have seen cases that some partnerships, they spent all the obligated amount, but they haven't reached their milestones and they ask for us to release more funds. We can't do that because we need to see progress. If there is no progress, something is going on. We need to see what is happening and we need to see how we can fix that. So again, you need to discuss this with your project manager. Plan ahead for this amendment. The amendment takes time. Sometimes might take 15 or 20 days. And if you need funds and we haven't signed the amendment, we won't be able to release the funds. So make sure that you discuss your progress with the project manager before you spend your obligated amount. This will help you and us to have everything in order, the amendment signed on time, and the remaining funds ready to be released. That's from my side. We can, if you have any questions about that, please feel free to put it on the chat, and we are happy to answer this for you. Moving to the next part.
Hello, Kevin here. Is it my turn? Okay, thank you very much, Patricia. And I will also just maybe probably give you an overview of activity reporting and monitoring and evaluation. Just maybe a reminder, and I know most of you are very much aware of what we do. Our formal reporting system for P4G is Airtable, where we submit our Airtable, where we submit our activity progress report, MND, and also the financial reports. So kindly note that P4G will not accept any report that is not submitted through these formal links that we share with you during reporting period. Again, during reporting, we really do not require you to report on any activities outside of what you had planned for in terms of your work plan. So kindly, when you're reporting on your activity progress report, kindly reference your work plan and your approved budget so that we can be able to consider the same. Again, during activity progress reporting, make sure that you are reporting on, the cross-cutting activities that you have kindly proposed in your work plans, which are majorly around the knowledge products and also the policy and regulatory commitments to P4G, which are also included in the work plan that you submitted to P4G. In terms of data, this is very critical for us and is a reflection of our P4G monitoring and evaluation framework. So when you're reporting on data, kindly submit to P4G what is directly attributable to P4G or what P4G can be able to showcase contribution in terms of reporting. This is very critical for us in terms of denoting pathways for P4G contribution to impact reporting. Besides that, again, the M&A report is only applicable to you on a biannual basis, reflecting 6 months of implementation. So we expect you to report on data for period reflecting 6 months of implementation. So for your partnerships, we'll always expect you to report from January to June, and then July to December. So you only expect you to report on to be able to submit 2 reports for P4G during the course of your implementation. So every year we expect you to report on a 6-month basis to that effect. Besides that, again, I want to praise you on the fact that we have been able to provide you with an indicator definition sheet. The indicator definition sheet reflects on what we mean by every indicator that you report to P4G. Any scope besides that indicator definition sheet is ineligible for P4G. So kindly be able to reflect on that and provide us with data that is reflective of the particular indicator that we expect of you. But be as it may, again, make sure that you are able to appraise us on the methodology that you are calculating your indicators on, for example, and that leads to the next maybe subsection. We expect you to be able to tell us how you are arriving at particular indicator data progress, for example, jobs created. So jobs created, for example, is a major indicator for P4G in terms of impact reporting, especially ESG. So for jobs created, for example, P4G, I would like to know from you the number of jobs created outside of the commercial partner. So jobs created outside of the business entity that we are funding. And these jobs created could be full-time employment, part-time, or even seasonal. But P4G expects you to report on only full-time employment. So whenever you have any indicators that are reflecting on part-time employment, you can be able to convert those to full-time employment based on the measurement metrics and the conversion rates that we've been able to provide in our reporting template. So you can be able to convert that, and we've been able to provide a formula for that. The same applies to people positively affected. Again, this could be directly attributable to your budgets, where you are purposing to kind of report on particular direct beneficiaries, but we also know that there are particular indirect beneficiaries that you can be able to reflect on, and those can be captured based on the scope of your project and also the partnerships that you are reflecting on. So those are very key social impact indicators that we expect from you. The other one is on CO2 emissions reduced or avoided. Again, these are mandatory reflections by P4G, and we expect you to be able to provide us data on the same. Majorly, again, these are applicable for partnerships that are mitigation oriented, because those that are adaptation oriented may not necessarily be meeting commitments on CO2 emissions reduced or avoided. And these indicator measurement is also based on particular subsectors that you are implementing on, so kindly refer to the same when you are alluding to those calculations. Besides that, again, we know that P4G has been able to provide particular measurement metrics in terms of impact measurements, but we know that you're working in particular subsectors that are also very important to P4G. So we have been able to provide particular metrics that we feel are also reflective of impact measurements for your partnerships. And where applicable, kindly make sure that you report on the same, so that you can be on the same page in terms of contributions to impact measurements. This could be, for example, for partnerships that are reporting on zero emissions, could be in terms of electric buses deployed. So if that is applicable to you, kindly report on the same. If it's applicable to you in terms of climate smart agriculture, kindly report on the same. Be as it may, again, in terms of reporting, make that report as vibrant as possible in terms of giving testimonials from people positively affected, giving us photos where the same is applicable, and so on and so forth. To the next slide, please. The next slide, please. And as that comes on, it's about knowledge products. Again, for knowledge products, as we have alluded before, and is as applicable to P4G in terms of even your grants and contract signing. This is a very important component for us because it is able to provide us with a triangulation of the quantitative data that you're providing us with in the course of reporting. So this is very key for us, and we have been able to share our guidance on our website and also through emails. I think for most of the partnerships that we are funding, we've been able to provide this guidance and share the emails with in terms of what we require from you. But just in terms of summary, P4G requires you to submit 2 knowledge products. These 2 knowledge products are in terms of number 1, a case study. Angelique, you kindly mute. Okay. Yeah, in terms of the knowledge products, we expect you to provide us with 2 knowledge products. Number one is on a case study regarding the success of your business model in the context of becoming investment ready. And this knowledge product is supposed to be submitted ideally at the end of the implementing period for your grant. And kindly, when this knowledge product is due, it is expected that you'll share a draft before the final submission. And this will enable the P4G team to be able to provide you with feedback that is necessary to concretize the same. The second knowledge product is around the policy and regulatory. So these are also very key. So kindly, again, you can be able to provide us with either a white paper or a policy brief or even a technical paper or even a report that is reflective of your policy and regulatory work that you've been able to implement with support from P4G. And this can be provided in the course of the implementation period of P4G. It doesn't need to be at the very end, but once you start implementing policy and regulatory work streams, you can be able to share the same with us. Besides that, again, during your first report, especially when we are onboarding you to P4G, we expect you to also be able to provide us with a roadmap of how you will be able to, number one, develop these knowledge products, like the timelines. These are very key for us to be able to anticipate the same and be able to provide concrete feedback regarding the knowledge products. And for subsequent reports, again, we expect you to be able to update us on the extent to which you are working towards providing these knowledge products. Again, in terms of communication, we expect you to be able to provide us with a dissemination roadmap, like let P4G know how you intend to be able to disseminate these knowledge products to the various stakeholders that you're targeting, besides P4G, of course. Again, besides that, we expect that these knowledge products will be in English. So when you're providing these knowledge products outside of English, kindly provide us with translations that we can be able to, of course, reflect on the same. I think I've also alluded to the fact that we do not just expect you to provide us with final products, but as you begin developing these knowledge products, share with us drafts that the project manager and P4G team will be able to provide the feedback so that we can align in terms of P4G requirements for the same. Finally, from me, it's about the final report, or rather the closeout report, for you to be able to close the partnership with P4G. We expect you to be able to provide or submit the final knowledge products. The 2 final knowledge products are very key in terms of being able to close out your partnership. So these are key. Without these 2 knowledge, then the project manager may not provide the go-ahead for the P4G partnership to close out the partnership. Be as it may, again, the P4G team is also very much available to you in terms of support from an M&E perspective, from a knowledge product perspective. So if you have any questions, reach out to me, courtesy of the project manager, and we can be able to provide any substantive support that you may require in the course of the implementation. Again, just maybe a summary from me is that the M&A reports are submitted on a biannual basis. So that is end of July and end of January. And then the knowledge products are submitted as they are due for the case study at the end of the partnership, and also for the policy and regulatory piece as soon as you are able to implement what you have committed to in your work plans to that effect. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to supporting you in the course of the implementation and operationalizing P4G investment readiness agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, we go to the next one, and I will try to be very brief so we have time for the Q&A. I know that you are having some in the chat. Kamal, if we can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, the next one. If you go one more, but yeah, and I will start to talk. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So just as a brief summary, what are the channels of communications and what we are monitoring? One before is, so first, all of you are assigned to the PM. You will have, we are having monthly, which I know that some of you are having monthly meetings with your PMs. Also, we have these quarterly meetings go, and as well, we are having a financial monitoring visit with all the admin partner at least once during the implementation of the partnership. Kamal, if you can go one slide before, please, to the monitoring annual performance. So we're having financial monitoring visits at least once with all the admin partner. That needs to happen during the implementation or before the closeout. So for some of you, we are reaching you to have those visits soon. Also, we are having business visits during not only like now that you are in the implementation or before the closeout, ideally, as well as if we see something specific, is that visit can be earlier or even a second visit that we need to have. No, so it's very important that for those visits you are prepared with information that we are requiring in advance. Some of those are related with financial tracking that we are reviewing with the different reports if we have some questions. And as is indicated in your subgrant, it's important that you have all the transaction, like the record of the transactions in your systems, or even sometimes physically, depends on how you are doing. No, so for this, as Angelica was mentioning, we are being highly strict in the transaction list. Is something that we require for the monitoring as well as for the audit. No, remember that all your partners will be subject to a final audit. And we reserve the right to conduct quality assessments, not only for the financial side, also for the impact indicators that you are, or the business indicators that you are reporting us. So it's very important that you are fully aware and communicate with your PM. Is your first channel. And then if it's something related with the operation, we'll also answering questions, but it's very important that your PM is fully aware. Okay, if we go to the next one, and yeah, that the audit, please, Kamal, the audit slide. So just for that is the audit and the closeout. The audit is, remember, everyone will be subject to audit. The most important things, everything is established in your subgrant, but the most important is that those audits is an independent audit. We already hired the firm. We expect that will be the same firm that will be conducting the audits for all of you, but it's something that we're reviewing. And they are also including some site visits. So it's important, and we're like now reviewing the specific documents that they required in advance, and we'll be making will be part of the introduction calls that we are having with you. We are expecting to provide you in advance the list of the information, but it's something that we are preparing. So the most important is that you are fully ready about that. Some of you are finalizing in September, so it's very important that if you have any question about that, is something that we can raise in your next quarterly meeting as well as in the different emails. No, and if we go to the next one, so we're just in time, but I wanted to give you some minutes for Q&A. The next, please, Kamal, the closeout. Yes, one more. So what is a closeout? And the most important thing, you have a closeout report. There's a specific link that will share with you all of, like some of you that are ending already receive it. So this report, what are the key things that includes? Is the final activity report, the metrics, what are the success. Is very important that you are very accurate on those indicators. We wanted to know what was achieved. Is not a good or bad number. We wanted to know the reality. It's mandatory to have the 2 knowledge product. As Kevin mentioned, if you submit it in advance, it's perfect, but the maximum is in the closeout report. It's a key element, otherwise we cannot close your partnership. There is also a section for the communication and also the final invoice and the final FSR. The final invoice and the final FSR will be released your audit, so we can start in parallel the process of the closeout with the audit. Consider that requires time, and also and what is important for the closeout to close your partnership on time is that 10% of your resources will be held until we don't have the agreed version of the closeout and we receive the report of your audit, we cannot close your partnership. So it's very important that if you have questions of those and more for those that are closing soon, is we can work with you and mainly with your PM to prepare this. Is how long can take this depends on you. Is we are having all the availability for that is our main purpose to close on time, but also we require your support. No, so it's very important to be fully aligned, and you will receive a specific email for that. Yeah, I think with that we can just have a couple of minutes for Q&A. I know that if we go to the end, you already have our contacts, but if you go to the final slide, Kamal, if you have any question, here are our emails are also on the website, but is also you can reach directly to your PM. It's very important. It's always your PM because otherwise the number of emails that the team receive is sometimes is significant. So if your PM is always informed, it's easy for us to coordinate. So yeah, I don't know if you have any other questions related besides the ones that were typing. So you can you can raise your hand and open the microphone, and we can give a couple of minutes for that.
Patricia, we haven't replied to all questions, but we will answer all the questions that you have put on the chat. Just give us a few minutes and we will reply to all the questions there.
Thank you, Angelique. Yes, we will share the presentation as we will share the recording. Yeah, so all of you will have access to this. Any other question? Someone that wanted to mention in the microphone? So as you know, this was not new information. It's more like to clarify what is important to avoid any delay in your payments and in the improvement of your reports. But yeah, we are here for you.
Can I ask a question, Pat? So regarding the invoices, receipts, and so on, in a lot of cases, those simply don't exist, and we use the credit card statements for that. Is it fine to use simply the credit card statements that then align with the transaction listings?
You mean the credit card statements like the like a record of the transaction?
Yeah.
Yes, but depends on the expenses. Also, maybe you need to have a receipt.
Well, some will have invoices, but some will not have.
Yeah, depends on
anything,
it depends on the kind of expenses, something that we can review. No, but is part of like a normal like accounting process. No, just consider when you are having an expense, if it's possible to have a normal like an invoice or a specific receipt, or in your bank is clearly what is this expense about. If we only see the name of the company, sometimes it's difficult to understand what was the expense about. No, so it's easier to have like a simple copy of them, like a simple receipt, if it's not possible to have an invoice to demonstrate that it's an expenses that is related with what's approved.
Okay.
That is also that is for cost share as well as the P4G resources. No, so it's very important that you have any record that is telling us what is this expense.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask what kind of expense you have then might not have a receipt?
Corrado?
Well, a lot of the expenses in Indonesia also for people who are providing some consulting services, they simply don't issue a receipt. Or there are, if it's like restaurant receipts and so on, in many cases, they will give you something which is just scribbled down. So we don't even keep them for our own accounting purposes because there will be a credit card transaction. And so we use the credit card transaction for our own bookkeeping and accounting purposes.
Especially for the consulting services, they should provide. Okay, I understand about the restaurants, then it's something that you need to chase them, because if you ask, they have to provide you with a receipt. But the consultants, that's more important actually. Yeah, just make sure that you request it every time.
Requesting and receiving is.
I know, but imagine if the auditor sees your statement with an expense. Can't the auditor understand what is this expense for? Because it's not only us. Even if we approve it, the auditor might say, no, this is not acceptable. And we need to avoid that. That's why.
Okay.
Even not, let's leave P4G outside, and you have your own business. Can you claim this expense in your books with a credit card only?
In our books, yes. With the account bookkeeper, yes. Because we know what the money was for. We simply allocate that expense to, we index it in the bookkeeping, which category will be different. So we had quite a lot of back and forth to allocate the different subcategories or activities in the transaction listings. But normally we have it for our bookkeeper.
Okay. Let's try and have the receipts.
Yeah, Corrado, and for all of you, it's also something important that you review with your admin partner. No, it's part of the support of the admin partner that can provide you what is according to the policies of them and the management system to fully understand that, yes, that expense is related to what we approve, but we need to demonstrate that, and it's in the subgrant that we signed with the admin partner, that they need to keep the records of those transactions.
Okay.
Yeah, Roman, you have a question?
Yes. I was thinking there are some payments from my own end as well that doesn't have receipts, like it's not a significant amount for those who do labor work, some kind of transportation services, like it might be from them one place to another. So in this country, it's some kind of it's mostly common that these services they don't have receipt at all. They're just the laborers or taxis that doesn't use formal receipt. So the government, the Ethiopian Customs and Revenue government suggests to let them sign on non-receipt form and to have their ID copy. So we have been implementing that, but I just wanted to know it's not a significant amount, but still for those services that we can't get receipt, I mean, how, I just wanted to know how the treatment would be. Thank you.
Yeah, I can. The first is that for all the, it's important to know that the auditors will be they have in general someone that is locally based. So they should understand the specific like the national and local regulation. And otherwise, it's also something that during the audit, the admin partner can provide the general context, and we are having different calls before they go on site and review a sample of the records. Also, it's important that you can work with your admin partner as I mentioned, to understand what is the kind of receipts that you need to be keeping. What are the kinds of receipts that you need to send them for the cost-share as well as for the P4G resources. We understand as the case of Corrado, there are some that are simple and that enough is, but we need to understand that is a specific expense. We see the amount and we see the organization, that is what we approve. So there is always way to demonstrate that, but my suggestion is go with your admin partner and work with them what is required, what you need to keep. Is maybe sometimes that is only electronic, that you don't need to have physical records in the most of the times, and with that is enough. Any other question? Someone raised their hand, I think. Or we are fine. Yeah, and it's also something that we are providing support during these financial monitoring visits is what we are also reviewing a sample of those transactions and provide you some recommendations or suggestions when we see something. Okay, I think now we can end because we're over time, but we are open for any further question. We are always available, but as I mentioned, it's always important that your PM is there, is CCing the email so we can follow up the conversation. We'll share this with you, and thank you for your time. We expect to have a very efficient process with you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.